one of the inmates that guards use to antagonize people. They put you in the C2 unit. And Jamie Mowell, he's one of many people that they injected with a substance called Haldol while I was in there. This stuff is no bueno. No good at all. In about 8% of the subjects, or people who are injected with it, it results in permanent schizophrenia, or schizophrenia-like symptoms. In a very large portion of people, it lasts for potentially months. In a much larger portion, it lasts for between 2 weeks to 3 months. And for a lot of people, it lasts, well, we get to see some of the numbers and the statistics on it. But that's how people like Jamie Mowell are treated there. They give them a substance that they know to be horrible. Even the doctors there said that they're mortified. Well, one of them used the word mortified. The doctors that worked there did not feel that what the state was willing to cover was acceptable or appropriate for what they were actually doing there. Seems to me that working in that environment is against their Hippocratic oath. Jamie Mowell, he was in there for obviously killing folks. What was I in there for? Trying to tell on a bad cop. Well, bad cops. But you see how jurisdiction disappears when it comes to a cop you're trying to turn in, being able to use every jurisdiction around. Chapel, Nebraska is notorious for this. Not just this sheriff, I mean going all the way back to probably when the town was founded, because if there's one thing I learned, Chapel, Nebraska is a crooked place. Most places in America are that way. Nearly all of these mental health workers admit that they don't have the funding, they don't have the funding, they don't have the funding. They also all know where the funding is going. It's going to pay their wages. It's going to pay their boss's wages, their co-workers' wages, a lot of other services that are supposed to help us. And all of these services say they don't have the resources. They don't have the ability. Why are we being sent to places that don't have the resources or the ability? When they want to focus on housing, the thing that they're not understanding now is how much harder it is. Because the assistance that I needed, I never got. The assistance that I was supposed to get. Y'all tell me about all these things that are supposed to happen. Who's supposed to get what and why? You also get to see that most of those resources, as I said, do go to women. Oftentimes women with children or young women. They're allowed to go to college. They have a lot more assistance in going to college. Because we said, hey, it's a grossly disproportionate ratio. Well, it's still that way. It's still a grossly disproportionate ratio. Just the opposite direction. It's not that we're not trying. It's that we're not getting any credit or recognition for our efforts. You're attracted to bad boys, but you need guys like me to have a decent life, right? Why is that? And why is it that if things don't go right for you, you can always fall back on, oh, he probably just has a crush on me? No, that's not it. That's not it, and you fucking know it. Obviously, I don't mind pissing people off. I don't mind going to jail. I don't mind going to prison. It pisses me off that that's what it comes down to when you try to turn in bad police officers. But also, let's look at Lincoln Correctional Center. How many of the people that I had to go to for help were put in prison later on? Sarah Nelson, Vicki Peterson, Michelle Decini. Now let's look at the current sheriff of Garden County. Her name is Michelle Quinn. That's scary. I've got a bunch of stuff here. I'm not going to be able to do anything with it today. But I got to get it marked and coded. It's all evidence. Oh, fuck. Oh, there it goes. Of the shit that I've been through for the last few years. This is just from one part of what I wrote down while I was in prison. Let's see. Yeah, we got stuff in here on a lot of different people. Eric Rodenbaugh. All the answers down here at the bottom, their responses are bullshit. One of the guys in here, Sergeant Huff. Man, that guy was screwed up. He's a sergeant, apparently. There's a lot in here with Sarah Nelson. I think that might actually be in the back here where I put that. No, this was to Joe Hall, although he didn't. Oh, here's one to Corporal Decini. An inmate on the yard yesterday was talking about his plans to assault Decini. I told Masudi, Naweed, and Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill said he would take care of it, but the other two didn't care. Says he lives in C1L16. And then well, that's right. Michelle Decini. My, helped to save her life. Tried to make sure that it got to her. There was originally a picture that I drew so that they could identify his head. I didn't want nobody killed. Even if it was somebody as fucked up as her. There's some in here about her too, like the messed up things that she did. It says, let's see, I need to be allowed to make police reports and grievances without being retaliated against. Staff in this facility act in a highly inappropriate way every day. Today, Hyatt and Masudi have antagonized myself and Ajamu, that's Ajamu Ojuri, repeatedly. I am trying to make reports on this, but I am repeatedly denied. I have to scream for help, so Hyatt mocks me, says, help me, help me. Hyatt repeats, help me, help me, help me, help me, then walks away. He has done the same to Ajamu in cell L9 and Chad Kohow in cell L10. Ajamu retaliated by being under his door. Chad dealt with it by talking to me under the door and by knocking on his door. Here's one to Reggie Smith. I typed thank you, thank Petra Barons, Joe Hall, and Nasaif for me. Let everyone else know I forgive them. I'm the only person I know who has what it takes to stand up to so corrupt a system. I do my best to save lives and help others, even in here. I forgive the same inmate every day, sometimes twice a day. I remind him I'm not Jesus when he comes back to reality. It is better here than at DECSNF. But the DEC rep followed me here. My court date keeps getting postponed. I'm at the end of my rope, but I'm still alive, sorta. Be safe, and thank you for the humanity. Please let Miss Moore know I still need to talk to her. Fuck, they made it impossible. I made several of them to the Nebraska State Patrol, but they were repeatedly returned. I'm supposed to be able to turn in a lot of the people that are there without them coming back and, of course, retaliating against the person who's trying to turn them in. But they make it so easy. Law Library, more to Ted Hill, Friends and Kern, Shift Lieutenant, third shift, distance to Ted Hill. It says Margaret said Jennifer and Amy were supposed to speak with me. She also said Kern would talk with me this morning, but nope, no such thing happened, no Ted Hill either. Sheriff DaCosta told a nurse and some deputies I am schizophrenic. Same tactic Amanda Jonas and Officer Burke used at Longmont Hospital when Natalie was killed. I have over a dozen people on my YouTube who I have known over 10 years in real life who say I'm not schizophrenic on YouTube. Several hundred conversations. Someone needs to step in and stop this. Joe Hall at DEC, Petra Behrens, and Mr. Hargraves stated they don't believe I am schizophrenic, and Mr. Hargraves said Ted Hill doesn't think so either. Natalie's death put me at risk, and I can't defend myself. I'm not allowed because of the mentally ill tag. Now, Ted Hill and I spoke quite a bit on this, and he actually looked at a few of the things, him and Dr. Arata as well. They wanted Dr. Arata to say that I was schizophrenic, and he refused. So they had to call another doctor in from retirement, and he wasn't willing to either. So I get to stick my tongue out and act all crazy like a Maori. See, this one's to Kelly Ward. This one's to Ted Hill. Amy Resney. God, they kept on fucking around with who I'm supposed to write this to, and it was like a big game to them in there. Oh, these ones are to Sarah Nelson right here. If you look up the name Sarah Nelson, you'll get to see what I mean. Now, Mr. Mowry, they stuck him in a cell next to me, and then he was starting to come back down to earth. So they took him to the hospital and had him injected with, while he was at the hospital, had him injected with drugs that he came back completely batshit fucking bonkers. Likely Haldol. This one, Sarah Nelson was in charge of the inmate peer support. Some of these are about that, and some of them are about the pieces of shit that are in there. However, because I got to keep these, it says a lot of the folks that were a part of it. Sarah Nelson, I typed to her, and mind you, she's in prison now for sexual assault against inmates. That's right, she's the one I was supposed to try to turn that into. Oh, yeah. Alright, it says, thank you for Robert Norfolk, Alvin Easton, Richard Olinger, and Lucky Erumwanya. The staff are often cruel. Alright, so these names up top were some of the inmate peer support. Every one of them told me that Sarah Nelson was going to come see me. She never came to see me. Never came to see me. They come to me and they tell me, alright, dude, so Sarah said she was going to come talk to you. I'm like, she never come talk to me. So the day before I left, that's when she come and talked to me. Let's see. I need someone to talk to every day. Being autistic isn't bad. It's just bad how we are treated. She typed, Mr. Schwartz, I'm happy to hear you had positive experiences with the peer supporters. And it's got Sarah Nelson's signature on it and everything. She's in prison now, by the way. You can look her name up. S. Nelson. Now there's a bunch of stuff in here about the legal aid stuff. When they told me to write to people and to send stuff to people, and then they wouldn't let me send anything out, and all the fucking head games, like you can't turn anyone in there, or they retaliate against you. Now there's the stuff here where I'm told to go to Sarah Nelson. Meanwhile, I have to try to turn her in for neglecting her duties. I mean, it was a bunch of bullshit. It was her signature at the top of a lot of the paperwork that was used to harm me, including a lot of the paperwork with Jamie Mowell, where he was in the cell next to me screaming like a motherfucker, all messed up on medications, talking about killing people, telling me he's going to rape my sister and he's going to kill my sister, and there's a bunch in here. Some of these I write down, you know, it's me cursing. And yeah, I certainly did. I wrote down them curse words. They were not taking it seriously. And basically they're all a bunch of fucking bullies who sidestep everything that you type or write and play stupid. Now there's a Corporal Blue, or not Corporal, Sergeant Blue, I can't remember. There's also Captain Wilkinson. I mean, I had to write to Nate Schwab. Alright, so this is the top one of them for Nate Schwab. I typed, "Okay, you piece of shit. I gave you copies of my legal papers so you'd know I was telling the truth, not so you could help the staff get away with committing felonies against me. You fucking lied to me repeatedly," and he did. See, that's the thing about his excuse was that he has to get permission from the facility before he can turn anything into the cops. That I have to turn it into Nebraska State Patrol. And one of the ways that I was being prevented from doing any of my legal stuff was that I was repeatedly having to try to write stuff to the Nebraska State Patrol. Imagine how far that went. Not well at all. Anyway, he typed, "This is an inappropriate use of the inmate interview request system. Nate Schwab." Yep. How about Eric Rodenbach? Alright, so we'll get back to the Jamie Mowell situation. What's so messed up with the Jamie Mowell situation? Well, this guy was a killer, and they stuck him right next to me, and they had another guy who was in there. I'm going to look his name up. It's in some of my other writings. I wrote on whatever I could get my hands on. And oftentimes they took it, so I read it again. There's a lot more back here. There's proof of multiple facilities that I was in that are now, well, this one here is Clearview Behavioral Health. It's been closed down. It was in Johnstown, Colorado. They renamed it something like Johnstown Behavioral Health now, run by the same people, getting into the same trouble. This is not okay. If any of you have been following the cases in Colorado, Boulder especially, you get to see how crooked it really is. How easy it is to be that crooked, especially when you've got a go-to set of easy-to-victimize human beings you can blame everything on. Oh, it was a mentally ill homeless person. Chances are it probably wasn't. Statistically, it probably wasn't. But it's about having your clout, right? Let's see, the guy in lower 10 is screaming he's going to kill someone, and he starts talking in regular voice. I'm speaking about staff abuse, and he starts calling me a molester and starts talking nutty shit again. I keep speaking out. Jamie in lower 14 starts yelling at me to shut up, then starts video and audio hallucination hour, talking to Orion, an imaginary person, claiming it's his son who was shot at noon yesterday by police. He also claims the guy in L10 was his son yesterday. Jimmy thinks Orion's grandma is in the prison maintenance chute. Kraft puts absorbent pigs around my door, but there is no water. So I asked Reich, why did Kraft put those down? He said, to make sure the floor isn't wet. I said, but the floor is dry. It wasn't wet. He said, then they are working. What a bunch of soggy fucking noodles. These people, spaghetti for brains. Third shift is almost over. Corporal Kraft called me a peach, said I'm right where I belong, and waved by at me. Boy, am I glad I'm not her neighbor. Staff here are, for the most part, bullies. Many have chips on their shoulders. As Dr. Ted Hill said, these people come to work to barely get paid enough to rent an apartment. There was more to it, but the point was, God, there's more to it. Where does it start? Fuck it. There's a bunch. There's a whole bunch. Anything that I could write on got written on. Anything I could write on. Both sides. People said, write it down. I wrote it down. I wrote it down. I wrote it down, and then I wrote it down. And then I'm dealing with people now today who are like, hey, Sean, you need to write it down. I've been writing it down. It's a matter of having a place to sit down with it all and organize it all. There's so fucking much of it. Woohoo, right? Anyway, all in all, there's almost a dozen officers in the situation between myself and Scott DaCosta that ended up getting involved in it. And also government officials. That's just with the Dual County Sheriff's Department and their reach across jurisdiction. People like Sarah Nelson. Now, Sarah Nelson, Paulie Olson, Michelle DeCini, Vicki Peterson, Garden County Sheriff, Michelle Quinn. She's Garden County Sheriff again, even after beating on her girlfriend. Here's Mr. Mowry was used to try to threaten, harass, or intimidate me and the guards because I tried to turn them in so often, tried to create a situation where Mr. Mowry could get his hands on me. Well, I'm a little bit smarter than that. There was actually two different inmates. They made sure that the only two places that I could sit was next to one or the other. And they decided they were going to put me right between the two. Man, I got to tell you, when they decide that they're going to set up a situation, they set up a situation. On the bright side, I speak out. I wasn't dumb enough to let that shit happen. There was an inmate named Jared Checkle, and he was a witness to all of it, or a good portion of it. I gotta tell you, I do, don't I? I have to tell you because nobody's gonna listen anyway, right? But as long as I said it, I'm doing my job and my duty. I'm not just saying it. I'm doing my best to prove it and to show it to the American people. Because this is where I live. But jurisdiction don't matter to the cops. They can reach across that, no problem. False charge here, false accusation there. The arrest record's still an arrest record. We got another one of these folks who want to do the Discord thing. No. Stop harassing me about that. And that's how easy it is to hide user on this channel. Anyway, Jamie Mowell was not only a predator, he was also a victim in there, which is fucked up. Like, they used to antagonize the hell out of him, Ajamu Ojori, Eric Rodenbaugh, and there was a couple other ones in there. I mean, they kept it up. The staff were relentless, fucking with your food. I mean, it's messed up. It's inhumane and it's wrong. And there's still people in there enduring it, and I have the names of the witnesses. And they said that they would speak up. By the way, the 4 people whose words got me put in prison are all 4 people that I was trying to turn in. All 4 of them, long before they did that. The problem is, how do you go to the Dual County Sheriff's Department to turn in the Dual County Sheriff? I had to turn him in. I had to turn in Polly Olson. Her name's on my paperwork too, by the way. I mean, all these people who were involved in this, involved in having me shipped around from place to place to place to place. The predator I was going to be turning in, and it already had it set up to turn him in. Somebody calling restricted. Ass whites. Anyway, my back isn't too fucked up anymore, so I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna set up my computer. Hopefully I'll get a room for about 3 hours. Try to get something done. Jamie Mowell, he was a character. Y'all got no idea what it's like. Being in there with those kind of people, for me, it's kind of like being out here, not doing meth, and I've got meth heads coming and knocking on my door at all odd hours, trying to find out if they, no, you can't. I don't mess with meth, and no, you can't get any weed either, and no, I don't want to smoke yours. You know, if somebody's hungry, they're hungry, I help them. In prison, the name of the game is social isolation when you're not liked. Jamie Mowell and Eric Rodenbaugh and a very particularly disgusting creature named Reiner, Wesley Reiner, 88958. He was in there for sexual assault against a 3-year-old. He had sex with his brother. He was, oh my God, when they wanted to mess with him, you already knew that it was coming because one of the people in there, her name was Ware, and she would get him out of the cell for a private session, and she would stroll him around like he was her own personal fucking Barbie. And nearly everybody in there, if the staff didn't like you because you tried to report on them, they'd stick him in the cell next to you just as a punishment. Imagine getting stuck between him and Jamie Mowell at the same time. Meanwhile, Jamie Mowell shares a ventilation system with me at the time, and he's screaming through it at all fucking odd hours. God, that guy was screwed up. All of them were after they had their monthly injection of Haldol. My God, that was fucking Fruit Week there. All of a sudden, everybody in there that's on a medication regimen, once a month they get their injection of Haldol, and holy fuck, turns them all nuttier than squirrel turds for a few weeks. Well, at least a few days. Some of them are more resistant to it than others. A lot of those guys, they're permanently messed up in the head because of those injections, and they're never coming back. Mentally, those people are not there anymore. Anyway, the fact that I've turned in so many predators that have been shown and proven to be doing these things, but I was treated like I was crazy. Shit, I turned them in first. It's almost like law enforcement goes through and looks at my videos but waits for me to leave to start busting people. Like, yeah, we can't really bust him for what he did there, but you know, we can bust this guy for what he does to the next guy because we know he's doing it now. Oh, we always got these folks who do this, don't we? You know what else we're able to do, though, don't you? Hide user on this channel. Anyway, I guess I better get my stuff packed up and headed in there. It is 1:21, so I'll be able to get it till about 4:30, I believe. But I also got to take care of my safety while I'm here, which is kind of difficult, especially with people not understanding. A lot of women have shown they know exactly what I'm talking about. They have panic attacks over fucking stupid shit for the most part. I'm not talking about all women, but specifically the ones that I'm having to deal with. For many of them, I understand why they have those panic attacks. I'm not going to take that away from them the way they try to take it away from me. And obviously, when I say they, I am talking very specifically about the theys in my situations. Is it just women? No, it's men too, but it's a different style and it's a different type. Oh, wow, here's some more. Yes! Oh my God, yes, I've got papers on papers on papers. Alright, well, I'll dig that out later. Oh, yes, I need the notepad. This one's pretty important. Anyway, when people are trolling me, I'm pretty good about taking screenshots if I can. Alright. Get my extension cords, and then I gotta get my speakers in case there's a important telephone call. Not that I'll actually get a telephone call. I did give express instructions not to do it by a restricted number, so it's not like anyone listens to me. You can also see, and I hope many of you have noticed this about me, if I have to be an asshole to get heard, I will. If people are going to tell me that something can't be done, I'll tell them the opposite. Hey, I bet you if my predators try it, they'll try it and it'll work. Watch. These people who are threatening to kill me and my friends and family and all that, yeah, I bet you they'll play victim and work together while you guys all tell me, oh, it'll never work to work together. That's the only thing that does work. Keeping each other safe. But who are you protecting and why? Oh, these might be a couple of important ones. I found some more. Yes. Voila. This one is for Teresa Royer, the nursing provider. I wrote to everybody I was supposed to. Admin IA. See, this one is oh, yes. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. All right. The Code of Ethics. All right, there's a lot of stuff I did my best about learning. Oh, BH worker. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Medical. Listens to records, admissions. Just a big giant pain in my ass. So I'll put this down here with these two because it's important. And now my pile is growing. There you go, Sarah Nelson. All right. Anyway, what do I say? Good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and your sister's keeper too. No victim left behind.